I feel dirty after that. Like watching Saw for the first time. I'm like, was that okay? Did I just do something wrong watching that movie? That just feels wild.
And Carlsen is very disappointed. And this is Magnus for you in a nutshell. He is such a perfectionist. He's up by 5 points. He still hasn't lost a game in this match. And yet it eats at him that he didn't convert that into the full point. It really does. He's not just trying to do that exaggerating thing, where you're kind of fake disappointed. He's really disappointed. That's what he expects from himself.
Well, and I was distracted there because when Fabi let that slip, I was looking, and again, shout out to reading body language that Fabi hates, but seriously, that was, you could really tell he was just ejected. He was just blundering. He trapped his own rook. Magnus misses the opportunity to win it. Both F5, as you saw earlier, and then G2 were available to Black.
Yep.
But okay, like I said, we want to put that one behind us, just like most of Carrie Elwes' films. Just kidding. I love Carrie Elwes. Shout out to Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Is that the movie with Mel Brooks?
Oh my God, Danya. Have you never seen Robin Hood Men in Tights?
No, but is that the movie with Mel Brooks? Bad news in a good way, right? That's the best scene from the movie. You're giving me that blank stare, Danny. I don't like it. No, it's when courier comes over to Richard III, and he says his brother is there to take over, and the king is played by, who's this comedian who plays in Curb Your Enthusiasm? What's his name? The black-haired dude. Hilarious guy. Maybe someone in chat can let me know. And he says, "Can you give me, maybe if you give me the bad news in a good way, it won't be so bad anymore." And then he's like, "Well, I have some very good news. Your brother is here, and he's gonna try to kill you and take over." And then Richard III's like, "Why are you laughing? Well, you told me to tell the bad news in a good way."
Oh my gosh!
Watch it on YouTube. Okay, sorry, Danny, that was long-winded.
No, this is great. I love it. I love that we're and Jon Stewart is, no, it's not Jon Stewart.
No, it's freaking. I'm googling.
We'll find it. I got outplayed on that. I agree. No, not only did Danya deliver with recognizing the movie, but he actually remembered one of the most iconic scenes from it. So touche, Danya. I have to give credit when credit's due. Touche. All right, Magnus.
Patrick Stewart.
Stewart. Yeah, Jon Stewart, different actor.
No. Anyways, back to the game. Yep. I'll find it.
Magnus is back to what he does, right? Just grinding out positions with slight edges and BD.
By the way, Richard Lewis. That's the one.
Richard Lewis. It's funny. I wanted to say Richard, but then I was like, no, because it's King Richard.
Yeah, but his name is also
Lewis.
Actually Richard.
Yeah, okay,
Okay, so who's in the driver's seat and why in this endgame? Usually it's Magnus if it's an endgame, and I think this is no exception, Danny.
Yep. The A file is controlled. We talk about open files, especially when there's only one or two. Here, white is in control of wherever the access points might be. Okay. The exchange, a big decision, whether you want to take with the pawn or not. Nope.
But now the light squares are weak. And bishop b4 incoming, potentially.
Unfortunately for Fabi, as much as those crazy scrambles have also gone Magnus's way, this is not a recipe, I think, to make a comeback at this point. Because I think that these are positions where Magnus is right at home. They pretty much guarantee we're going to milk the full time off the clock. And if anything, white has a tiny edge.
I really, really feel strongly that Fabi has to mix it up against 1e4.
Yeah.
And he's got to maybe play a French, maybe play a Sicilian Sveshnikov. Just get fresh positions. The only chance at this point for Fabiano might be to take Magnus out of his comfort zone in the opening.
Yeah. Well, again, and it started out differently. The d4 prep, apparently for Fabi, was maybe a little bit better. I mean, I like the positions he had both as white in the Nimzo and the one he had in that game one as black. And I know I keep referencing it because, frankly, I haven't seen enough positions that were dynamic in a way where Fabi was playing with winning chances. Okay, there was the queen game, I guess, in the last game, but unfortunately Magnus was the one who won that.
Losing that game is just such a backbreaker.
Okay, I like how Fabi's playing this, though. Improving the king. The f5 pawn is weak. The bishop pair hasn't spoken yet. Not doing anything impressive. Not to say... What's that?
James Baroy in the chat says, Magnus out of comfort zone, where would that be? Yeah, you'd kind of have to go to the edge of the earth to get Magnus out of his comfort zone. True that. True that.
Yep, indeed. Bishop d3 played, hitting the b5 pawn. Probably your best hope, if you're black, is to just sit this one out and be like, all right, how are you winning?
Yeah, rook a8 also merits consideration, and he plays it. I'm not sure if this reduces white's winning chances or increases them. Yep. I do think black should be able to hold, because there's really no breakthrough on the king side. This is what I think is going to save Fabi here.
Is there any f4 at some point?
But okay, but then what? I mean, I think I go king c6, okay, I hold on, yeah.
I love it. Yes.
Vol.
Okay.
Vol.
Okay. Oh, wait a second.
Now I don't like that trade at all.
Every pawn on a dark square makes Danya a dull boy. This bishop is a beast, and we'll find if it gets any way in, black will be losing. If this bishop can somehow get it. Oh, and I just thinking of any way in.
Bishop
look at
takes g5. Danny, the idea is hg. Bishop takes g5. Holy smokes, my brain is exploding. Fg f6, and the pawn promotes.
God.
And
bishop takes g5.
I can't believe it.
You have to play bishop d8.
And then h6, breaking through again, and suddenly white's got plenty of winning chances. And you could play h6 at your leisure.
I was going to say, he could have even gone this way to prepare h6 and force the black king to be in a less than ideal position.
And they
say g5, what a move to spot.
Now, two options here for Magnus, broadly speaking. I like king g4, h6, and then king h5, trying to infiltrate through the king side. He's going to win this game, isn't he?
If anyone can. But g5, what an instructive point. I guess we were kind of focused too much on the queen side. In hindsight, that was a really instructive grip that white had, and you always have to watch for those shots when your opponent has the pawns furthest up. Everyone knows of like the three little piggies trick where you sacrifice all the pawns, right, and break through. Kind of a similar theme in any of these positions where you have much further advanced pawns, despite it being symmetrical, you have winning chances.
And the pawn endgame is losing.
Yeah.
So can Fabi build some sort of fortress here? King g7, e4, king g6, and Fabi can move his king. That's big, because if you take the bishop on d4, the pawn promotes. It might be a draw.
Huge move.
I think he's holding it. I mean, Carlsen's going to try to get his king back to f4, I think.
Yep. Now the e4 pawn has gone too far.
Dude, he just never dies. He just keeps fighting and fighting, and he just never ends.
What do you do now?
No, you give up the pawn. And then you move your bishop away, but it should be losing. No, this has got to be lost.
It's so hard.
Now you go back to g6?
But when you get all the way back, what's the difference?
No, it takes d5. Try to win this one.
Sacrifices f for c.
Okay. It should be a draw objectively, but I think Magnus is going to pull through. King c5. King c5. It's over.
The king goes to d5, you push to c6, and you force the bishop trade. It's a winning king upon ending.
Not even close. Not even
c6, bishop
close. This might have been the most unbelievable game of the match, Danny.
Seriously.
This needs to be studied by everybody who wants to learn something about chess after the match.
This might be a game we asked Magnus about, too.